everyone, Lindsay here, and I am back for another episode of Sew to Grow. Today's episode is so exciting. It's kind of building on our last episode where we learned how to make our own bias binding. Well, today we're going to put all of that into use and we're going to learn how to finish off the neck of our garment. I have my new top, the Bronte top here, and we're just gonna finish that off so you can see how you can do it yourself at home. I think you guys are gonna love it, so let's go ahead and get started. So before we begin, you just need to grab a few basic supplies. The first thing you're going to need are some pins, and you're also going to want to use a water-soluble marking pen. So I prefer using a water-soluble marking pen because it will wash out when you're all done. The other thing you're going to need is a great pair of scissors, and you'll probably need a ruler as well. Now for the actual bias binding, you can either purchase pre-made single fold bias binding, and you can find it at your local craft retailer, or like I mentioned in the previous episode, you can make your very own bias binding. So I've cut my strips on the bias at 1 3/4 inches, and I simply just iron them in half. And I have a length of about 45 inches so that it goes all the way around my neck, plus about 10 inches so that we can join them up together at the end. So I've actually zoomed right in so you can see exactly what I'm doing and get a really clear picture. The first thing we want to do is find the middle back, and I like to do that by marking it with some sort of pin to let me know where that is. Then what we're going to do is take our single fold bias binding. This is the raw edge, and we're going to place the raw edge against the raw edge of your neck, and we're going to put a pin about 2 inches to the right of our first middle pin. Okay, this is where we're going to start sewing, and you can see how I've left myself a little bit of a gap past that center marking, and then I'm just going to keep going around, pinning around the neck, matching the raw edges. Alright, so I sewed in a contrast color thread so that you could see where I was sewing the whole way around the neck. Once you're back all the way back at the beginning, you'll have these little tails, and what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how to join them together so it's really nice and neat. So the first thing I like to do is leave my pin in the center, and taking your water-soluble marking pin, just make a little mark, okay? And then I'm going to do the same on my other piece. Okay, so now I know that that is the center. I'm going to open the piece up. You are going to mark where that center line is, and then you are going to repeat for the other side, taking your ruler, lining it up, and marking exactly where that middle line is. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your two pieces, match them right sides together, lining up those blue lines, and we're going to pin right through that blue line, and then we're going to take it to our machine and sew on it. Now that you've sewn on your blue line, you are going to take your scissors and you are going to cut about 1/2 inch away from that sewn line, like so. Then you're going to finger press, which is just using your fingers to open up that seam allowance like I'm doing here. And then we're going to fold it in half, and then we're going to line it up back with the center, and you can see how nicely that lines up. And then what we're going to do is go back to our sewing machine and connect the stitching from here to here. So I'm going to do that 1/2 inch seam allowance, or you could do 3/8 if you prefer. And I'm going to do a little back stitch here and then sew all the way across to here so that I have one continuous piece around my neck. So you can see that I've connected my stitches and that looks really nice and neat from both sides. And we're almost to the end. So this part, what we're going to do is we're going to flip up, and you can even go to your iron and just iron it up so that it stays really nice and flat. And then we're gonna fold in, and I kind of roll it with my fingers because that just helps to even out the seam. And you may have little tags like this, and you can just take your scissors and cut those off. So I roll that out, and then I like to pin from the inside right along the edge of the bias. So again, fold up, fold over, roll, and pin. Okay, I'm just going to keep doing that all the way around my neck until the whole thing is completely pinned. Once you have the entire thing pinned, we are going to turn the shirt inside out like so, and we're going to go to our machine and we are going to sew really close to that folded edge all the way around the whole neck back to the beginning, and then we are all done and we can try on our new top. So let's run to our machine and get that sewn. Okay guys, we're all done, and how quick and simple was that technique for finishing off your garments? I would love to see what sort of garments you're making and how you finish yours off, because this is just one way you can do it, but there's heaps of other ways. This is one of my favorites. If you ever do one of my sewing patterns, you'll see that this is kind of my tried and true method that I love for finishing off my garments. I'm really happy with how my broonchy top turned out. Let me give you guys a little show off. So here's the front and a little bit of a contrast on the back. I really love great simple techniques, and I can't wait for next episode where I'm going to teach you guys all about gathering. So until then, maybe I'll see you on Instagram at Sew to Grow, or perhaps on Facebook. I'd love to have a chat with you there. See you next time, and happy sewing.